I gave my husband $415,000 to save his life. 3 weeks later, I found hidden mortgage papers listing him as divorced. And that's not even the worst part. He told me he was being hunted by loan sharks, that if he didn't pay them off in 7 days, we'd both be in danger. I drained everything, my retirement, my business reserves, even our house. He cried when I handed him the check, said I was his angel. But what I found in his home office, the secret bank account, the luxury condo listings, and the text messages to his pregnant mistress proved he wasn't planning a new life with me. He was planning one without me. Here's how I exposed everything and made sure he lost everything he thought he'd get away with. I'm Emma, I'm 35, and not too long ago I thought I was living the American dream. Blake and I had this gorgeous house in Westchester County, New York. We'd been married 8 years. I made $380,000 a year from my digital marketing business. Blake worked as a financial advisor managing millions for rich clients. I ran my own digital marketing business that I'd built from nothing. Last year alone, I made $380,000. That's incredible money. Blake worked as a financial advisor for wealthy clients at Morrison & Associates, this prestigious firm that managed millions. We both drove luxury BMWs. We took romantic trips to Europe twice a year. Our neighbors were green with envy over our elaborate dinner parties. Everyone thought we were the perfect couple. They had no idea what was coming. The first warning sign came on a Tuesday night in March. I was working late in my home office, finishing a major campaign for a Fortune 500 client, when I heard Blake on the phone downstairs. His voice was desperate in a way that made my blood run cold, shaking with terror. "I need more time," he was saying, his voice cracking. "Just 1 more month. I swear on my mother's grave I'll have it." I froze in shock. In 8 years, I'd never heard Blake sound scared of anything. Who was he talking to? What did he need time for, and why did he sound like he was begging for his life? "Please, I'm begging you, my wife doesn't know anything about this. She can't know." Wife doesn't know about what? My hands started shaking. What was Blake hiding from me? But I didn't know what I was about to discover. That phone call haunted me for days. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Every time I looked at Blake, I felt sick to my stomach. He'd been acting so strange lately, and now I knew why. He jumped every time his phone rang, like he was expecting bad news. He checked his emails obsessively, his face getting pale whenever he read them. When I asked simple questions about his day, he snapped at me with anger I'd never seen before. But I knew my husband. He'd talk when he was ready. 3 days later, on Saturday morning, I was making coffee, trying to pretend everything was normal, when Blake walked into our kitchen looking like death. His face was white as paper. His hands were shaking. "Emma, we need to talk," he said, collapsing into one of our breakfast bar stools like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. My stomach dropped. Nothing good ever started with those words. "I'm in big trouble. Money trouble." He couldn't look at me. "What kind of trouble?" I could barely force the words out of my throat. "I owe people money. $415,000. The coffee mug slipped from my fingers and exploded on the kitchen floor, sending hot coffee and ceramic shards everywhere. But I didn't even notice. The number was pounding in my head like a nightmare. "What? How is that even possible?" My voice came out as a scream. That's when the truth came pouring out like poison. Blake had been gambling. Serious, life-destroying gambling. Online poker that went on for days. Sports betting where he'd risk tens of thousands on single games. Trips to Atlantic City that I thought were work meetings. He'd destroyed our savings. Maxed out secret credit cards. And when that wasn't enough, he'd borrowed from loan sharks. And worst of all, he'd used our house as collateral. Loan sharks. These were dangerous, violent people who didn't care about excuses. They want their money by Friday, or... He didn't finish. I felt like I was going to vomit right there on the kitchen floor. "Blake, are you completely insane? Do you have any idea what you've done to us?" I'd seen enough movies to know what happened to people who couldn't pay back loan sharks. I stared at this man sitting in my kitchen. This man I'd shared a bed with for 8 years. This man I'd built a life with. And I realized with horror that I didn't know him at all. The Blake I thought I'd married was a lie. A complete and total lie. How had he hidden this from me for so long? How had I been so blind, so trusting, so stupid? "We'll fix this," I heard myself say. "I have money saved. You'd really help me, even after what I've done?" I should have said no. I should have run. Instead, I said, "We're married. We're a team. I still believed in us. I still believed that marriage meant something. I still believed that when you love someone, you save them, even when they don't deserve it. He cried and promised he'd get help, swore he'd never gamble again, told me I was saving his life. I wasn't going to just sit there and let dangerous people hurt my husband. I was going to save him because that's what good wives do. That's what love means, right? Wrong. I was about to learn that saving his life meant destroying mine. Getting together $415,000 in 1 week was so hard, so intense, the stress of it nearly killed me. I liquidated my business emergency fund that I'd spent years building. I cashed out my entire retirement account and paid massive early withdrawal penalties that made me sick. I took out a home equity loan against our beautiful house, putting our home at risk. Every dollar felt like giving away a piece of my soul. That money represented years of hard work, sleepless nights building my business, sacrifices I'd made to secure our future, and I was throwing it all away to clean up Blake's mess. But I did it because I loved him, because I thought that's what marriage meant. The day I handed Blake that check, he broke down sobbing. "You saved my life, Emma. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you." For 3 weeks, everything seemed perfect. Blake was more loving than he'd been in years. Flowers, romantic dinners, talk about our fresh start. I thought we were healing. I thought we'd survived the worst. Then the credit card bills started coming. Expensive Manhattan hotels, fancy dinners, jewelry from Tiffany. "Just business expenses," Blake said when I asked. "Since when do you buy Tiffany jewelry for business?" "It was a gift for my boss's wife, her birthday, office politics stuff. You wouldn't understand the pressure I'm under at work." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe him, but my gut was screaming something was wrong. The way Blake looked at me had changed. Where there used to be love and gratitude, now there was resentment. It was as if he was angry at me for knowing his secrets. Like he blamed me for the fact that he'd had to confess his gambling problem. Like saving his life had somehow made me the enemy. That's when I found the evidence that changed everything. I had no idea that the nightmare was just beginning. 3 weeks after saving Blake from loan sharks, I was looking for insurance papers in his office when I found a hidden folder and made a discovery that destroyed everything I thought I knew about my life. Inside were bank statements for an account I'd never seen. It was in Blake's name only. The blood drained from my face. My stomach dropped like I was falling off a cliff. I felt like I was drowning as I flipped through the pages. Deposits. Lots of them. Recent ones. The account had over $245,000 in it. Where the heck had this money come from? How long had he been hiding this from me? Rage started burning in my chest, white-hot fury that made my vision blur. My hands shook as I kept looking. Real estate documents, luxury Manhattan condos costing over $1 million. I couldn't breathe. The air felt thick and poisonous. How could he do this to me? My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. I took pictures of everything with my phone, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold it steady. Blake had stood by while I'd liquidated all my assets to save him, while all the while he owned these assets, under his name alone. The betrayal cut through me like a knife. Every breath hurt. Every heartbeat felt like it was tearing me apart from the inside. I was shocked, appalled. I felt completely used and abused. I felt like a fool. A stupid, blind fool who had given everything to a monster. What kind of monster was I living with? But there was more to come. The assets weren't the part that destroyed me. What was even worse was what I discovered next. A second set of documents I found buried underneath. Pre-approval letters for a mortgage, applications for buying property, all in Blake's name only. Applications where he'd listed his marital status as divorced. Divorced. The word hit me like a punch to the gut. My whole body went numb. Then the pain crashed over me in waves. I sat there staring, feeling my world collapse. He wasn't planning to start over with me. He was planning to start over without me. 5 years. 5 years of my life wasted on this lie. 5 years of love that meant nothing to him. My phone buzzed. "Blake. Working late again. Don't wait up. Love you, babe." Love you, babe. The words felt like poison in my brain. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my phone against the wall and watch it shatter into a million pieces. The words made me sick. I spent 3 hours going through every single inch of that office. What I found was evil. Credit card bills for escort services, hotel receipts from fake business trips, restaurant bills for romantic dinners for two at places I'd never been. Each new piece of evidence was another stab to my heart, another lie, another betrayal. How many nights had I worried about him while he was with other women? And then the note that made everything clear. Once the debt is clear, initiate the exit plan. Emma will be devastated, but she'll get over it. Fresh start with A by summer, no baggage. She'll get over it. Like I was nothing. Like 5 years meant nothing. Like I was just trash he could throw away. A. Who was A? My hands were shaking with pure rage now. I felt like I could rip the whole house apart with my bare hands. I searched more frantically, and that's when I found the text message screenshots he'd printed out and hidden. Messages between Blake and someone named Ashley. Messages that made me want to scream until my throat was raw. Can't wait until this is over and we can be together properly. She has no idea. Still playing the grateful husband act. The money's almost ready. Few more weeks and we're free. They were laughing at me, both of them. While I was giving up everything to save him, they were planning their perfect life together. The bitterness tasted like metal in my mouth. The text I found next made me throw up on the floor. Love you. Can't wait to start our real life. Real life. Like our marriage was fake. Like I was fake. Like everything we had was just pretend. I finally had everything I needed to destroy him, and destroy him I would. The grief would come later. Right now, all I felt was ice-cold fury burning through my veins. I was devastated, but I didn't have time to grieve. This was war. I didn't confront Blake that night, or the next day, or the day after that. Instead, I did something much smarter. I planned his complete annihilation. First, I called a lawyer. Not our family lawyer who Blake knew, but a ruthless woman I'd heard about through my business network. Diana Martinez didn't just handle divorces. She specialized in absolutely decimating cheating husbands who tried to financially abuse their wives. When I showed her the evidence I'd gathered, her eyes lit up like she'd just won the lottery. Your husband is the stupidest man alive. These bank statements alone will bury him. How? He's been hiding marital assets during your marriage. That's fraud. Plus, he's been using community property to fund his affairs and gambling. In New York, the court is going to absolutely crucify him for this. We're talking about him losing everything. While Diana started building our legal case, I got to work on my own preparations. I opened my own bank account at a different institution and quietly started moving money out of our joint accounts. I made copies of everything. Our tax returns, property deeds, investment statements, insurance policies, mortgage documents. I even installed a hidden recording app on my laptop and left it running in strategic places where Blake might have private conversations. The waiting, the pretending was torture. Smiling at dinner while knowing he was planning to abandon me. Listening to his fake concern while knowing he was counting down days until he could throw me away like garbage. Every kiss felt like betrayal. Every I love you was a knife in my back. But I held on. I forced myself to play the role of the loving, trusting wife, because I knew very soon Blake would face the consequences. Little did he know, I had been planning this revenge for weeks. And when it came, it would be beautiful. Blake chose Friday, April 18th, to blow up my life. He came home from work with flowers and an expensive bottle of wine, acting like he was planning the most romantic evening of our marriage. We were sitting on our back deck watching the sunset when he dropped the bomb. Emma, we need to talk about something important. Here it comes. I've been doing a lot of thinking about us, about our future, about what we both need to be happy, he said, still unable to look me in the eyes. And I think we need some space to figure things out. I sipped my wine calmly. Space? I think we should separate, maybe try living apart for a short while. He couldn't meet my eyes, staring at his hands instead. You've been under so much stress lately, and I feel like we're both just going through the motions. Maybe some time apart would help us figure out what we really want. What we want, like this was mutual. And where would you go? I found a place in the city, just a small apartment, nothing too fancy. His voice was getting more confident now, like he thought this was going well. The $1 million condo was small. Blake, I said, setting down my wine glass very carefully. Do you think I'm stupid? He blinked. What? Do you honestly think I'm so stupid I wouldn't figure out what you're doing? His face went white. Emma, I don't know what you're talking about. Let me refresh your memory, Blake. Looks like you're becoming forgetful. I pulled out my phone and showed him everything. The bank statements, the condo applications, the escort receipts, the note about his exit plan. You pathetic piece of garbage. You used me to pay your debt so you could start fresh with your girlfriend. Emma, let me explain. Explain what? How you've been cheating for over a year while I worked to build our future? How you were planning to steal everything we built together and give it to some girl named Ashley? How you let me destroy my financial security to save your worthless life, and this is how you repay me? Blake was hyperventilating. When did you? I know everything, every sick and pathetic detail. I stood up. But here's what you don't know. What? I smiled the coldest smile of my life. I already filed for divorce. You what? 4 days ago. My lawyer is Diana Martinez. She destroys cheating husbands who hide assets. I watched terror dawn on his face. When she's done, you'll be lucky to keep your underwear. You can't do this. That money you gave me, I'll pay you back every penny. With what money? The money you've been hiding? That belongs to both of us? I laughed like broken glass. You have no idea how screwed you are. That's when he got desperate. Fine, he screamed, all his fake composure finally cracking. You want to play hardball? I'll destroy you. You think you're so smart, but you have no idea what I'm capable of. I'll make sure you get nothing. I stopped the recording app. Thanks for the confession, my lawyer will love this. What happened next shocked even me. Watching Blake realize his life was over felt great for a week, but what happened next was sweeter than I ever imagined. Diana called me Wednesday morning, excitement in her voice. Emma, you'll love this. That $245,000 in his secret account? It's not gambling winnings. Where's it from? He's been embezzling from clients. Small amounts over 2 years, but it adds up to major felony territory. The SEC is investigating. My jaw dropped. He's been stealing? The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit is involved now. Now your husband isn't just looking at divorce court, looking at federal prison. I felt a wave of mixed emotions so intense it was almost overwhelming. The last remnants of love for a man I'd shared my life with for years, mixed with bitterness and anger at his betrayal, and satisfaction that he was going to pay big time for his deceit. Blake wasn't just going to lose me. He was going to lose everything. 3 days later, Blake was fired. 2 days after that, FBI agents arrested him at our house while I watched from the window. Seeing him in handcuffs was beautiful, but I wasn't done yet. The next wave came from my sister-in-law, Melissa. She called crying 3 weeks after Blake's arrest. Emma, I'm so sorry. I had no idea about Blake and Ashley. They've been together 14 months. She's pregnant. Pregnant. The word hit like a punch. Ashley was Blake's 26-year-old assistant who'd sent me sympathy cards about what happened to such a wonderful man. She's been bragging she'll get your house in the divorce. That's when I realized my revenge wasn't finished. It wasn't enough to destroy Blake. I also needed to destroy the fantasy life he'd promised his pregnant girlfriend. I called Diana immediately. The mistress is pregnant and thinks she's getting our house? Diana's laugh was evil. That poor girl is about to get educated. Here's what Ashley didn't know. In New York, adultery affects property division. Getting pregnant during an affair? That's proof of cheating. Combined with Blake's embezzlement and hidden assets, Diana argued I deserved the vast majority of everything. The house Blake promised Ashley? I got all of it. The retirement accounts? Every penny mine? His BMW? I sold it and donated the money to gambling recovery programs. Even better, the SEC found Blake had stolen $580,000 from clients over 2 years. The $1 million condo he'd planned to buy Ashley? The government seized it as proceeds from crime. Ashley's dream of playing house with her wealthy boyfriend? Destroyed. She was fired, moved back with her parents in Ohio, raising Blake's baby alone while he sat in federal prison. The final nail came 8 months later. Blake's lawyer called Diana begging for mercy. Mr. Garrett wants to know if Mrs. Garrett would visit him in prison. He wants to apologize. Diana didn't bother to ask me. She didn't need to. Tell Mr. Garrett that Mrs. Garrett is too busy enjoying her new life to visit federal inmates. I moved to Santa Barbara and started over. Bought a gorgeous oceanfront house. The $415,000 I'd given Blake, I got back every penny plus damages. Blake got 12 years in federal prison. Ashley got a reality check and a baby whose father would be locked up until the child was a teenager. Blake thought he was so incredibly clever, using me to solve his problems and then discarding me like garbage when I was no longer useful. He thought he could manipulate me, lie to me, steal from me, and walk away to his perfect new life with his pregnant girlfriend. He had no idea that his biggest problem wasn't loan sharks or gambling debts or even federal prosecutors. His biggest problem was severely underestimating his wife, and that problem destroyed him so completely that he'll probably never recover. But wait, there's more. 1 year later, Ashley called me sobbing. "Mrs. Garrett," she sobbed, "this is Ashley. I wanted to apologize for everything, and I need help. Do you know any good lawyers? Blake isn't paying child support from prison, and I can't afford my rent, and my parents kicked me out, and the baby needs medical care, and I don't know what to do." I listened to her sob for a full minute before I spoke. "Ashley, Blake destroyed my life for you. He stole from clients for you. He's in prison because of choices he made for you. And now you want my help? Please, I'm desperate. I have nowhere else to turn. You should have thought about that before sleeping with my husband." I hung up. Some lessons are learned the hard way. Ashley learned that fairy tales built on adultery don't have happy endings. Blake learned that betraying your wife costs everything. And I learned that sometimes the worst thing that happens is actually the best thing. 4 years later, I'm remarried to David, who treats me like a queen. Every morning, I wake up to ocean waves and smile. Not because Blake destroyed his life, but because his betrayal led me to the life I was meant to have. The house he thought he'd share with Ashley? I sold it for twice what we paid and expanded my business. Now I make $500,000 a year. Blake gets out in 8 more years. I heard he's writing apology letters to everyone he wronged. Most people throw them away unread. Ashley works 3 jobs in Ohio to make ends meet. Last I heard, she's trying to terminate Blake's parental rights so she can put their daughter up for adoption. As for me, I learned the best revenge isn't destroying someone else's life. It's building your own so magnificently that their opinion becomes irrelevant. Blake thought losing me would be the start of his better life. Instead, it was the beginning of mine. The last page in the folder, a note that changed everything. But that's another story for another day. And that's how I got the sweetest revenge possible, living so well that his betrayal became the best thing that ever happened to me.